My name's Guy Kestevan and I'm a professional bike tester and also used to be an archaeologist, which is why Cycling UK have asked me to write their guidebook for the King Alfred's Way route. This fantastic 350 kilometre, 220 mile route starting here in the beautiful historic city of Winchester. I'm going to film it in 3 parts, so I'm breaking it down to roughly 120k a day. This first part will be from Winchester over to Salisbury, through Salisbury Plain, past Stonehenge, up along the Ridgeway to Avebury, and then finishing up near Uffington Whitehorse. So already you've got a whole string of like real landmarks, you know, of global history, let alone English, British history. So, you know, that gives you a taste of just what this first day has in store and what an incredible route this is. So, this video is just going to be rough and ready with me chatting on the hoof, or on the pedals as it were. And so, you know, you really want to get the guidebook from Cycling UK to give you all the details of, you know, the things you're going past, the terrain you're likely to face for each section, and all the maps and other hints and tips for the route along the way. So I'll be writing that. I mean, I've actually written a lot of the draft up already in pre-COVID times, so now I'm going out on the recce route to see what it's like on these trails itself, and I could not be more excited. It's going to be fantastic. So we're pulling away from the Westgate, past the Westgate Hotel and Pub. Beautiful interior in there, if it was open. I've seen the pictures. But anyway, you know, a little bit of early morning bus and busyness here, but this route's been put together primarily by Kieran at Cycling UK, who's an absolute map fanatic and a very keen historian, so it looks very, very promising on paper, and already you can see we're off onto quiet cycle-friendly routes through the Winchester suburbs. And here's our first little section off-road. A little single track sneak just outside Winchester. I mean, it literally took me about 5 minutes to come off through town, but here we are already, you know, on these ancient pathways that form the bulk of this route. And you can see where literally thousands and thousands of years of use have just worn this sunken road into the ground. Already straight into that real sense of history. And this, you know, this first day over to Avebury and Uffington, absolutely the sort of greatest hits of archaeology for this area, and, you know, Britain and the world as a whole. It really is. Now, where's me? Yep, I think I got that one right. There are quite a lot of twists and turns on this route though, so, you know, pay attention. Don't just get sucked completely into the fascinating bits or the fun bits, or you'll be backtracking quite a lot. Sections like the Ridgeway, in terms of surface, this is, I was just about to say, very smooth. It's gone a little more mixed there, but yeah, I mean, I'm riding it on a gravel bike, so drop bar bike with 40mm tyres. For the nerds out there, it's Santa Cruz Stigmata CC on brand new Zip Firecrest wheels, 303s with Zip's new tyres, and running them at 30 psi. Well, 30 front, 35 rear. It's like I say, I'm a professional bike tester as well, so I figured 350k on brand new kit will be a good test of it. And you know, I'll post a video of my findings for separately as well. So if you're really interested in the bike, then look for that. And also, I'm using Altura's waterproof
vortex luggage because the forecast is looking a little bit mixed, so I want the stuff to stay dry. I'm not camping, I'm staying at friends and then having a Premier Inn, but so I'm travelling fairly light and fast. But obviously, how you do it? I mean, this route will be fine on a gravel bike. And there are places, I think, I'm looking at the Google Earth, which is how to do it so far, how to do the draft copy. So at least we have something on the page to alter and work with. So that's put the launch back, obviously from COVID, but there'll be some sections that are quite challenging on a bike like this, but then on sort of road and these sections, it'll be a bit lighter and it'll skim along that a bit easier. But a mountain bike certainly isn't overkill for this route, and there are places where you'll be glad of that extra control and the lower gears as well. And obviously, you know, speeds will depend a lot on trail conditions. And wind, you know, it's quite a lot of this route is exposed in terms of wind and weather. So, you know, keep an eye on the forecast, pack accordingly, and just keep your expectations reasonable. As always with a happy route, don't stretch beyond what you think you can comfortably manage. If you can add a bit, then happy days. Or just, you know, means you can relax a bit more, but don't make it hard on yourself. Enjoy it. You know, Kieran's put together this fantastic route. Plenty of places where you can just stop and listen and watch and kill some time and take in the history, so make the most of that. And we're already meeting the locals. Ponies out here, raising wild on Westwood. Huh. Wow. Not hanging about, we're getting beautiful and quite wild already. Straight into the scenery and the loveliness. So this route up through the woods is an optional. And you can go further north, just along the valley on roads. But I have to say, it's beautiful. You know, it's a little more challenging. You know, you're obviously riding on forest tracks, and roots and sticks, and it'll be a bit muddier when it's been raining, but beautiful start through the woods and out onto this sort of open moor heathland and this little bit of single track. I'd definitely go for this route option, so I'm glad I loaded this onto the GPX. Oh, to be fair, Kieran looked at it and went, yeah, you'll like that option more. So he's kind of given me the bonus extras loop to play with, which is, you know, so I thought it'd be good to film that and just get not in a hurry. Make the most of this trip. So putting in a little bit of elevation, coming up through this westward diversion. Fantastic single track and this beautiful view popping up all the way along the shoulder, you know, right over into the hills there and also over to where we're heading shortly. And the other thing about doing the southerly loop up through the woods is you get this amazing long descent down through the forest and then along this old drove track. I've been flying down here for minutes now and the climb up really wasn't that bad at all, so it's a win as far as I'm concerned. And now we're into the beautiful village of King Sombor, and doesn't get much more English than a thatched roof pub called the Crown. Oh, this is thatch-tastic. Is this place? If you don't know what thatching is, it's that straw roofing technique there. You know, that's been around since the Iron Age, and well, possibly the Bronze Age. Housing remains very sparse, really. Early on, you just get holes in the ground, but we know the Iron Age huts were almost certainly thatched. Anyway, we'll be doing more history later, class. There's a wagon behind me, and now we're riding just across the Test Valley. Little quiet back roads, back and forth over loads of little river tributaries, and it's a very, very famous area for its fishing. You know, very, very fertile land, this. You can see why this area has been inhabited. It's the very first hunter-gatherers came over as the Ice Age retreated. Came over in hunting camps, Mesolithic flints. That's, you know, 8 to 10,000 years ago. And then pursuing as the climate warms up and the hunting gets better, they follow it north into Britain. And it's still an area for, like I say, hunting and shooting and fishing now. And this charming chunk of tightly packed contours is the ancient driveway up out of Broughton, Boughton. So, with prehistoric earthworks and Bronze Age barrows up at the top here, you know, this depression is a bit more pronounced lower down. It's been worn in by at least 5,000 years of people walking up here, and you know, this landscape just sucks you into that history, gets you thinking, what are they doing, what are they wearing, how are they talking, how are they singing, what were they worrying about, what made them happy. Well, getting to the top of here has made me fairly happy, and we're now onto the Clarendon Way, so I think from doing the preliminary write-up, we've got a nice long descent from here, and also there's a nature reserve just off to the right that's full of very rare butterflies. There's some incredible views over the valley, over to Danebury Hill Fort and other prehistoric monuments, and kind of the direction we're heading next over Salisbury Plain. You know, the guidebook's been written with all the sort of points of interest pulled out as sidebars, and while they won't always be on the route itself, you know, we'll flag them up when they're close by. So, you know, get an awareness before you ride each section, read it up the night before, so you don't end up just zooming past stuff you might otherwise miss, because, you know, these ancient routes obviously connect up ancient places, but sometimes they won't actually go directly through or past them, so, you know, be aware of the landscape you're passing through. It is beautiful, and it can just kind of draw you on, or you might just be riding it, you know, for the thrill and joy of what a good fun technical descents like this. I hope you've got your bags fixed on securely when you get to this point, but having said that, you know, this day technically is probably the most mellow. Things definitely ramp up a little bit on the Ridgeway, and then the final day, there's some proper technical, steep, tricky terrain on that. So this is just a warm-up, folks. Oh, ducking under the branches there. And obviously, you know, it's lovely and baked hard at the moment in summer, but this looks like it'll be a bit soggy in the wetter months. I mean, that's why there's big tractor ruts in it there. So, you know, be prepared. See what the weather's been doing, not just the week you go in, but, you know, the weeks and months before, and plan accordingly. What I've learnt already this morning in the first 40k is that Wessex has a lot of very beautiful woods. It has a lot of rolling hills, and it has a lot of these little corridors of kind of tree-lined, tree-hooded, you know, corridors of trail. And this route makes absolute maximum use of them. So, just heading into Old Sarum now, Old Salisbury. And now, straight ahead there, you can see the multiple ramparts of Old Sarum. Yeah, actually riding into the fort now through the gate, and you can see, you know, still almost 3,000 years later, or at least 2,500 years, the bank and the ditch are huge. You know, when you consider they're digging that out with cattle shoulder blades, that's a serious undertaking. And now, going to meet up with my buddy for the next part of the trip, Ross. And then ahead, you've got the Norman Keep, built just after William the Conqueror invaded, and then actually home of the Royal Mint for a while. So there's the inner Motte and Bailey there, and there's Russ, and there's Salisbury. So now we're coming up through Great Durnford. Proper, the archaeology meter is starting to twitch now. If it wasn't for the hedge up there, you've got a hill fort looking down on top of us. We've already rolled past a few tumuli and some earthworks. We're going to turn over the river in a minute, and that's when things really start kicking off. Over to all the big barrow fields, and then obviously over the top to Stonehenge. I mean, you can go straight on the road, which keeps you on your bike all the way. And yet another thatched cottage. This has been thatched central since Salisbury. Even like the garden walls have been thatched. It's been beautiful. And now we are properly heading into the archaeological epicentre. So you can see up on the ridge line there, you've got these big long bank and ditch earthworks, and then there's a barrow field up there as well, prehistoric burials. And the more work they do here, you know, the more they keep finding. The knowledge of this area is just expanding all the time. And you can see why. It's a beautiful, fertile landscape. And obviously, back in the Neolithic times, which is when this area really starts being populated, all forest, but so all the places we're going past likely have been clearings. And then definitely by the Bronze Age and Iron Age, quite a lot of clearance going on. But the Neolithic people were the first ones to start clearing areas for farming, and you know, this easy draining fertile land was just brilliant for those early crops. It still is brilliant for crops now, so let's roll on. You know, and you needn't worry about not being aware of the prehistory all the way around where you look. Everywhere on these skylines, Bronze Age and Neolithic barrows. You know, this is, we're getting towards peak prehistory now. You know, you've got to remember as well, these monuments have been here for 4,000 years or so. So when they were built, they were these incredible, far larger, you know, they'd been shining white from the chalk on top of them. It really would have been an amazing sight, a real status symbol being buried under one of these. There we go, Stonehenge, coming over the horizon. First sighting of those amazing stones there. Just the other side of that main road, but now we know this whole landscape. You know, even in the past couple of months they've announced there's a massive 4 kilometre circuit of 10 metre by 5 metre huge holes being dug. Still don't know whether for posts or for stones, but even bigger than any of the monuments they've discovered so far. So at the moment this is a footpath section, so Russ is glad to be lifting his e-bike through there, and but it's worth, you know, a couple of 100 metres just walking, especially with such an incredible view of the barrows all around you. So at the moment you can see there is a real problem crossing this road because it's pretty much nose to tail. Whoop, we made it. But yeah, obviously, go careful there. And now we're actually riding across the alignment of the Cursus Monument. A massive long ditch and bank alignment from all the way from horizon to horizon, passing over near Woodhenge as well. Now we're climbing up now, away from Gore Crossroads. Red flags are flying, so we don't want to be going that way, but it's been a real mix so far, like little down the side of field runs, tractor tracks and tank tracks, so definitely more kind of diverse terrain than I was expecting. It's more diverse landscape as well. I wasn't expecting it to be kind of so pastoral and agricultural. Thought it would all be just pampas with tanks in. But, you know, Russ is a local and you can see why he likes it now. Like he says, you can experience loads of different kinds of terrain and landscapes in quite a small area. Salisbury Plain, not so plain after all. Yeah, there it is. So, right on top of the plain then, and right up the north. I'm speaking to Russ, who rides here a lot. There's actually great tracks down the valleys that way, but they all depend on the ranges being open, so you know, if the red flags are flying, you ain't going up them, so that's why we kind of had to come the long way around on the official route. But if the ranges are open, it's a shortcut, and from what Russ is saying, it's proper wilderness in there. But it is beautiful. Again, just dropping down this ancient old drove road towards the Vale of Pewsey. Hedgerows, wildflowers, middle of nowhere. That's what it feels like, actually, you know, actually not far away from a whole string of villages down in the Vale there. Plenty of places to overnight, and hopefully I'll be able to find a cup of tea, because it is not, I'll be honest, it's been a dry old day. Found a garage that served coffee, but nowhere to get a brew. So I've just winched myself up from the Vale of Pewsey. You can see Salisbury Plain where I've been riding across, and dropped down over there and then came through these villages. I mean, they're beautiful villages. Loads of, you know, thatched cottages, medieval buildings in there, but now as soon as we've come back onto the tops here, we're back into the prehistory. Got earthworks along the faces of these hills, we've got barrows over there, and obviously past these cows and over the top we've got Avebury and Silbury Hill and West Kennet Barrow, and that whole other little nucleus of prehistory out there. So that's the next move. Now as we come over the top, a long descent now to Avebury and Silbury Hill. You can see down there, there's a big long earthwork monument just running along. No one's quite sure what they were for, to be honest. I mean, seems odd. I mean, I guess, you know, landscape dividers. I mean, they weren't continuous. They'd often have breaks in. So it might have just, I mean, I'm personally of the opinion that a lot of this stuff it's like cattle herding or livestock control. But it's certainly a big old piece of physical engineering, considering the equipment they had. But again, you can see what beautiful, rich, fertile, rolling hills these are. You can see why these became such a centre for prehistoric population. It's really easy to grow here. And if you can grow here, you can thrive here. So, as far as prehistoric England goes, this is the absolute hotspot. And you can just feel, you know, it's such a timeless landscape. I mean, out here, I can't see a single building. You know, there's nothing that dates this at all. You know, it really does turn your bike into a time machine. Just be aware that after coming out of all this remoteness, you know, 1 minute you're fighting, try and find a line through super deep hedgerows, you're suddenly coming up to this roundabout on a fairly major road. So just be aware of the traffic here. A little public service announcement section. But as you can see, that signpost just went past. Avebury in one direction, Silbury Hill in another. That means it's just where all the Indiana Joneses are going to get properly excited. But I'm going to sneak across here. Actually, after saying that, absolutely deserted. So good result there. And then it's just a bit of a footpath along here. And then onto the road into Avebury, but we peel off in a second onto a quieter back lane anyway. And these standing stones in the field ahead are all that remain of Beckhampton Avenue, which was a big avenue of standing stones and leading all the way in a curve around to Avebury and the main henge up ahead. You know, 4,500 years ago, the dating says. I do find that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously I'm an archaeologist, you know, that's what I did my degree in, spent a few years digging as well after college, but it does take my breath away. You know, that something so old, so kind of mysterious, it's still so obvious in the landscape and even over the, you know, the resolution was better on the GoPro. You could see that whole ridgeline over there is lined with barrows, you know, Bronze Age burial mounds. And then over that way, just over the brow of the hill, you've got Silbury Hill, which is this massive conical mound, kind of like, you know, a chalk pyramid really, the equivalent. And then we're rolling into Avebury itself, so through the old village. Beautiful mix of houses here, traditional thatched and slightly more recent, and that's an old one. Those are some good old medieval windows there. And you're right into the heart of the henge itself when you get here. There you go. Wow. As soon as that, massive bank and ditch from the stones.
And I'm just on the edge of the stone circle in Avebury now. You can see the village over there, and I've just had a nice cup of tea at the Red Lion. I've been gagging for that since Winchester, but you can see it's just weird, you know, you can get so up close to these stones here. And, you know, these are, you know, it was only cleared in kind of, you know, the 1920s, 1930s by one of the local well-to-dos, and it was only cleared so people could enjoy it in 1920. Before that, it was just kind of overgrown. It's still used for sheep grazing, and it's kind of, you know, when you look at this massive bank and ditch here, you know, it's this incredible monument from, like, you know, 5,000-6,000 years ago, and yet, you know, you still got wagons rolling through the middle of it, and it's funny. It's just that it's so commonplace, and in many ways, you know, this is a bigger monument, and was probably a more important monument than, you know, Stonehenge was, or Woodhenge, and yet, you know, it's kind of, in a weird way, more mundane, and, you know, a lot of the stones are missing because they got either used for building, or, you know, the local church weren't so happy with having these, what they see as devil's work right in the heart of the village. But, you know, thank goodness, you know, they're restored now, and it really is an incredible place to come. I've just sat and had a think, and, you know, we'll all have our own opinions on these, whether we're archaeologists or scientists or not, or something very special about here. That's certainly true. Something very special about this whole area, you know, and that's what this whole ride today has been.
And now we're heading out through the far side of the henge. That stone's just toppled over. You can still see the massive bank and ditch. And onto the Anglo-Saxon heel path, literally path of the army. You know, Alfred put these routes in south across the west of England so he could move his troops around fast to counter the Viking raids. Part of the strategy that, you know, ultimately gave him victory over the Vikings. So yet another bit of history. And this route is just so loaded. And this is day one. Still got day two. Day two we get kind of, you know, starts prehistoric, goes World War II. Day three we've got World War II, we've got medieval, we've got highwaymen, we've got giants, devils throwing bits of landscape around. We've got D-Day, and then we're back into medieval Winchester. So much to do, so much to see. Crack on. And now we've climbed up onto Fifield Down and onto the Ridgeway itself. You know, this, crikey, I mean, this path, this, you know, there's barrows to the left and right of me here, and obviously we're looking down to Avebury. We're looking down to Avebury over there, across the valley, and this is a timeless route. Doesn't mean it's the easiest, right? I'm just rolling down off the ridgeline for a bit now, and then over there you've got massive Iron Age hill forts, Barbary Castle, multiple ramparts and ditches, you know, commanding this part of the landscape. But there are so many of those features around here. You know, real sign of sort of Celtic power base in the Iron Age. And the Ridgeway actually turns up here to attack the ramparts itself. I'll try and feel about that. It's been a long day so far. Good on about 120k, about 1500 metres of climbing, so attacking a prehistoric fort on a gravel bike, well, there's not many routes you can say that that's part of the plan, can you? But it kind of sums this one up perfectly. Whew. Come on, chariot. Find your Celtic warrior inside. And let's get up here. And there we go. Through the ramparts into the fort. I don't think the Iron Age occupants would have made that quite so easy. There'd have been a lot of archery and slingshot work, doing some damage as I came up there. But I'm very glad it did bring me up here, because it really reinforces what a massive area this covers. And it's taken me several minutes just to ride across it. Just getting to the other side now. It's double bank, double ditch. And crikey, you could have fitted a lot of folk in there, but it would have taken a lot of folk to build it. And it wasn't just these massive banks and ditches, you know, 2 ditches, 2 banks, with a massive. They would have had a really big timber palisade on top. They found the remains of the post holes for that, and heavily fortified gates. But these faces were also covered in sarsen stones, you know, the massive stones that you get at Stonehenge and Avebury. So, you know, this is a formidable fortification and a huge area. But you can see just how far, you know, what an amazing area this commands. And obviously when you're down there, you're looking up at this incredible symbol of power. You know, considering, you know, there weren't many people out in that landscape. It makes this, you know, makes achieving something like this, building something like this, so incredible. And they were only active for a few hundred years, you know. The Iron Age hill fort period, I mean, you could say it was cut short by the Roman invasion, but still, they weren't active for long. I mean, some of them got reused in the post-Roman period. I don't like calling it the Dark Ages. It's a horrible term. It was a beautiful, vibrant culture with some incredible art. They just didn't go in for straight roads and massive wastes of stone and stuff like that, like the Romans did. So it wasn't the Dark Ages. I mean, it was a period of conflict. It was a period of tribes coming in from Europe and, you know, upheaval and change, and a fascinating bit of history. And unfortunately, we know very little about it. But, you know, very similar, in fact, to the Iron Age. You know, the Roman blip was very much kind of, yeah, it was you know, it was an old period, was the Roman period, and it dominates so much of how we perceive the past. You know, this is the stuff I really find fascinating. You know, all the prehistoric period and then the post-Roman period up until King Alfred's time. You know, that's when it just feels really English in a way. But again, you know, you say that, but you know, you can trace the people coming in from other countries, from other cultures, you know, the Beaker people, chariots, all these different cultural cues. They're coming from all over Europe. You know, you're trading as far away as the Mediterranean, as far away as, you know, the Near East. You know, it wasn't just this little parochial, primitive place. It was, yeah. No, prehistoric Britain was alive, really alive, beautifully alive, and I'm loving this route. You can probably tell. I don't know what to say about this, really. I just wanted to film it because it's beautiful. Just rolling down Marlborough Downs over towards the south, more downs over to that way. I'm just coming down, dropping off the tops to Ogbourne St George, little village just north of Marlborough. But there's remains of habitation, traces of human activity dating back to the Mesolithic, 8,000 years BC. You know, little flint scatters from hunter-gatherer tribes then. Iron Age, Bronze Age, Romans came into town, and there's a site of the Roman road came up because it's a natural kind of valley through from Marlborough in the south up into Swindon and Devizes to the north. And it's just, I'm rolling on here, you know, it's early evening, the sun's on my back, skylarks in the sky. This is just beautiful. as you can see, gradually winch my way back onto the ridgeway. Luckily it was quite a nice forgiving climb. Got a fair few K in my legs now, and a lot of climbing to be fair, more than I was expecting. And the last few K has been a nice fast cinder path. Looks like it's getting a little bit lumpier again. You can see that notch on the horizon over there. That's the ramparts at Liddington Castle. And that's kind of where I'm finishing for the day.
So that's day one done. You know, it seems a long time ago since I started in Winchester this morning, but it's just been such an incredible route. Just the diversity of the landscape. You know, from those sort of tunnel tracks from Winchester to Salisbury, through the trees and westward and everywhere like that. That was a real surprise how beautiful it was up on there. So glad I took the long way around there. And then, you know, I mean, Stonehenge. It's incredible. It's such an amazing landscape, and that heritage is getting richer and richer all the time. And just the valleys leading up to there, that anticipation as you crest over that rise, amazing. And then Salisbury Plain, that was, you know, I'm not from this area, so that was a surprise, you know, how diverse that was. I thought it was just going to be, you know, primarily just tank roads and big vistas. I mean, there was plenty of that, incredible landscapes and skyscapes, but also a lot of detail, really charming little farm tracks and byways, and just that sense of history, you know, as you roll again down to the Vale of Pewsey. That was a really nice, gentle, you know, cruise across the valley, then up again into the prehistory over the tops, and then down to Avebury, you know. And Avebury took my breath away, I have to say. I've been there before, and it's just such an amazing place. The fact you can get so close to it, and, you know, kind of almost the humbleness of it is very, very, I find that very, I really, I nearly said connect. No, I do connect there. There's something about that place that is amazing. And then, you know, back onto the ridgeway, beautiful scenery again, and then just that sense that anything could be round the corner, just history, you know, the people who've walked there from Mesolithic, Neolithic, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Roman, Saxon, medieval, you know. And then just, you know, this little last section, you know, my legs weren't that happy about pulling up onto the top of the ridgeway one last time, but I'm so glad I've done it. You know, I could have cut out early, but I'm so glad I've come all the way up here, you know, because, you know, even with a motorway in the middle of it, just the views up here and just this timeless landscape, you know. And obviously, you know, it's been a big test for the bike, first day, but everything's gone swimmingly, and, you know, it's probably going to have another 200k on it by the time I've finished the route, and that's just part of the testing process. I'm going to be using it on the road with different tyres on, and, you know, get some even more mileage in on that SRAM Force wide access equipment. So there will be a full test review video on the bike, on the Santa Cruz Stigmata, and on the wheels, and on SRAM wide axis, because there's a hell of a lot to talk about here. So I'll probably do the bags as well, actually, as a separate video. So expect a load of links to all those different videos, because I'll do those obviously once I've done this route, and probably a bit after the route. So if they're not immediately here, they are coming. You know, search around the channel to find them. But anyway, that's the bike, but what we're really talking about is this incredible landscape. And the fact I'm riding that way tomorrow. So, you know, another 130, 140k, I think, tomorrow's leg, further along the ridgeway over to Reading, then down through, I don't even know what you call it. It's the home counties, I guess, down, you know, quite near London, sort of Aldershot, Basingstoke way, and then I'm roosting in the Surrey Hills. That's my overnight nesting spot on the second night, and then from there I'll go through the Surrey Hills. It looks like a really fascinating route. It's all over the place, but Kieran, who's put this route together, he knows how to work a map, and he looks to have joined some very, very fascinating dots onto the South Downs Way. I don't know why I'm gesturing. That's not the South Downs Way. I presume that's Salisbury Plain again. I don't even, my geography is terrible down here. Anyway, I'm quite clearly waffling. So, you know, make sure you get the King Alfred's Way guidebook from Cycling UK. That's how I'm primarily involved in this project. I'm writing the guidebook for them. But thanks very much for watching. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure so that you can see parts 2 and 3 of this route, and click for notifications so you know when those go live. And yeah, thanks for joining me on this journey. It's not what I normally do, so I hope you're okay with the way I've presented it. I'm normally shouting about bikes and the latest technology. So talking about prehistory, although it's something very dear to my heart, you know, it's what I studied at college, and I've always had an interest in it. And you know, I worked as an archaeologist for 3 years, but that was more cattle markets in South Yorkshire rather than any landscape as beautiful as this. But yeah, thanks for coming along for the ride with me. Hope you'll join me for days 2 and 3. I'm Guy Kestevan on Guy Kes TV, talking about and riding King Alfred's Way, the new long-distance gravel cycle route from Cycling UK, and it's fabulous.